Is it safe for those who like Dominion to come back out yet?
No, not yet.
Move over, Ben. It's time. It's time to like Dominion. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Amber Mind. So today, the Amber Mind team is going to share our collective thoughts on how we enjoyed Dominion. So I'm going to start off with Grant and Ellie's side of the plot. Which means I'm going to be discussing the locusts. I'm going to do it all here instead of even touching on it later because so many people seem to have an issue with it, which makes zero sense to me because it actually feels something more out of Crichton, which what I mean by that is Michael Crichton, the author of the original two Jurassic Park and Lost World novels, something he would have written. Yes. So, during the prologue, or the preface, one of the early parts of the original Jurassic Park novel, it actually mentions, before getting into the actual story, that the miracles of genetic engineering, it will get to a point where there's bioengineered crops, which then will lead to bioengineered animals involved in that, and how it's only a matter of time until that progresses. And if you have read things like Andromeda Strain, you would have an understanding of why this is actually, something he would have liked and would have inspired and put into one of his novels. And I actually feel that if he would have expanded on the world that was Jurassic Park, he would have gotten to something very similar to this. Now, I believe it would have actually have been InGen instead of Biosyn, but it would have gotten to this point anyway. I gotta say, I absolutely love all the references and callbacks in Grant's tent. We've got a skeleton of the Spinosaurus, we've got the resonating chamber from the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park 3 that Billy 3D printed 20 years before 3D printing was cool. We also have a picture from that was behind the scenes from the original movie, as well as a bunch of interesting knickknacks that call back to things that he had in his previous dig sites. One thing that I thought was really cool was the fact that they were actually excavating another T-Rex, which I don't remember if actually it was shown off too much in the actual movies. Here's going to be a picture. To continue talking about the Jurassic World side of the story, I'm going to send it over to my buddy Badger, because he just loves a certain aspect of this series. So, take it away, Badger.
Hello everyone, this is Badger Boy. I'm here for my portion of the Dominion review. To get started, during Owen's pterosaur escapades, Maisie is seen sneaking off from her cabin home, and somehow stumbles upon a weird construction site thing. I don't really know what it is. And there she sees my personal favorite dinosaur, a patasaur, and sitting there, and it's like block construction stuff. So what she does is uses her plot convenient dino knowledge and basically puts, I think it was a stick on the back of an equipment and hosing a patasaur away. But little did you know, there was a second patasaur hidden behind a pile of logs, and they walk away, which is also conveniently an edited, well, the Dino Tracker is an edited version of that shot without all the construction and logging and equipment. After returning home from that, which apparently Maisie was not supposed to leave due to orders from Claire and Owen, and after returning home, she's questioned by Claire, "Did you go out? Where'd you go? Did you enter town?" And Maisie, being the stereotypical "I hate you, Mom" teenager, she yelled at Claire, slammed her door, and walked away. So this sets up the whole, Maisie has mom issues throughout the story. However, when Owen comes home from his escapade, she's all, "Oh, cool, Owen Dad," which was also hinted in the previous movie, how she ran to him instead of Claire, yada yada. Now back to you, Thay.
Okay, Badger, you're quite right. I absolutely hate the "you're not my mom" plot point. It really drags. But you know what doesn't drag? Leaving a like on this video down below. If we can get 10 comments on this video, I will release the Amber Minds ranking of the Jurassic franchise a couple days early. Originally, we were planning on waiting until after Camp Cretaceous Season 5 comes out. If we can get 10 comments on this video, I will release it sooner. Also, if we can break that 100 subscriber limit within a week of this video coming up, I will release the Ultimate Jurassic Timeline video for the entire franchise 1 week earlier than originally expected. So that could be either this Friday or next Friday, if we can break that 100 subscriber count within the first couple days of this video going live. Next up, I gotta say, is one of my absolute favorite parts of this movie. One of the common criticisms that I've been hearing people say is actually an echoing of what Malcolm said in the original movie. Are you gonna have dinosaurs in this dinosaur movie, right? Well, the thing is about that, there's dinosaurs everywhere. There's prehistoric creatures we haven't even seen in this franchise everywhere in this movie. Did we even watch the same thing? First of all, let's just take the black market scene in the Malta sequence part of the movie. They're everywhere. There's Allosaurus, Baryonyx, Carnotaurus, Compsognathus, dozens of them. A dude has a Dimorphodon hanging on his shoulder like he's some kind of pirate. How awesome is that? That's one of the best things I've seen in a movie in a very long time. Next up, we have Leonard, the Lystrosaur. Like, our first synapsid in the franchise. Come on! Leonard is such an awesome little dude. The way that he just yoinks that dude's arm. Come on, man! Next up, we also have the Stiggy. You know, the Stygimoloch, one of the Pachycephalosaurid family. My favorite kind of dinosaur. We actually get to see them. Also, one of the Easter eggs in this scene is that there is actually a Jurassic Park 3 Alpha, which is the male Velociraptor tail, sticking out of one of the crates. So next time you go see it, and yes, please go see it again, be on the lookout for that. One of my favorite parts of this whole sequence has actually got to be when Owen is going through this black market scene, when he's chasing the guy that kidnapped Maisie, who, I'll get into that in just a sec, but how he just gets attacked by the Compsognathus. It's very similar to how that one dude gets it in The Lost World, which his name is escaping me. It'll be right here. It's almost shot for shot, like action remake of that scene. It's just Owen takes it in strides, and he takes it like a boss, and just throws the compies off and continues running. That has got to be one of the best things in this franchise, hands down. I'm not going to get too deep into talking about the Atrociraptors, because Bob has actually requested that he talks about them. So take it away, Bob.
Variants are not something unfamiliar in the Jurassic Park franchise, and there are many species in the expanded universe that have many different appearances. Troodon, Brachiosaurus, Pteranodon, Baryonyx, and of course the Velociraptors are just a few examples. Some of these variants could of course be explained by a retcon, or maybe the variants are no longer canon, or only appear in concept art. But I personally believe that all of these could be canon, and it could exist simultaneously in the franchise. Jurassic Park is more a story of genetic engineering than a story of de-extinction. As Dr. Henry Wu stated,
Nothing in Jurassic World is natural. We have always filled gaps in the genome with the DNA of other animals. And if their genetic code was pure, many of them would look quite different. But you didn't ask for reality. You asked for more teeth.
I never asked for a monster.
Monster is a relative term.
And this phrase is true to some extent. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are modified, some with the DNA of modern-day animals, which give them unexpected abilities and features that aren't evident in the fossil record. Some dinosaurs have the DNA of other dinosaurs within their families, in an attempt to make the dinosaurs more accurate or genetically pure. Some dinosaurs have the DNA from others from different families, genetic chimeras designed to wow guests or hunt them down. In Jurassic World Dominion, we are introduced to a new method of genetic engineering: designer dinosaurs. The Atrociraptors in Jurassic World Dominion were incredibly hyped up for an animal that really only appeared for a short amount of time. Personally, I was disappointed in the amount of screen time they got, and for me it was one of the low points of the movie. I do hope we get to see in the extended cut of Dominion more screen time for the Atrociraptors and hopefully more information on their backstory. In the Dino Tracker website, it's explained that the members of the Department of Prehistoric Wildlife believe that the Atrociraptors are modified Easelsorna velociraptors, meaning this is just another variant of the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. This gives us an idea of what the term designer dinosaur could mean, and to me I think it's something similar to the amalgam dinosaurs. The amalgam dinosaurs first appeared in 1999 when InGen and members of Biosyn, posing to be Mizrani, snuck onto Easelsorna and started reviving dinosaurs that had gone extinct between 1993 and 1997, but they also created new species that didn't previously exist on Easelsorna. In the Sinoceratops species field guide, it's explained that the Sinoceratops is an amalgam of different ceratopsians, including Pachyrhinosaurus lacustae. The amalgam testing in 1999 looks to be an experiment on creating new dinosaurs by mixing the genus of dinosaurs within the same family to create a more accurate and genetically pure variant, rather than filling the gaps in the genetic code with the DNA of modern-day animals. It's not clear whether or not the Atrociraptors have other Dromaeosaurid DNA, but the concept seems to be the same. They changed the already existing Velociraptor's DNA to give it more Atrociraptor-like features. The resemblance between Atrociraptor and Velociraptor is evident in their patterns and colorations, as the Atrociraptors do resemble InGen Velociraptors that we see in the original trilogy. Panthera and Tiger have an orange body, white underbelly, and thin dark striping across their body similar to male and female tiger raptors we see in The Lost World. Ghost is pale with black striping across their back similar to the female raptor from Jurassic Park 3. Finally, Red is a little bit of an odd one out. Red was originally a male raptor leading a pack of Jurassic Park females in the original Jurassic Park 3 script, before being replaced by the quilled Hystrix raptors we see in the film. Red was again tried in Jurassic World as a male Hystrix raptor complete with quills on the back of his head, but he never made it into the film. He did make it into Jurassic World Dominion, but he didn't play a big role. Red's appearance doesn't look too much like any other raptor we've seen in the films, but he does sport thick striping on his tail similar to the original Jurassic Park raptors. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I do think Red's coloration could be from a male Jurassic Park velociraptor like his original plot in Jurassic Park 3.
Thanks, Bob, for that input. Next up, we get to the Biosyn Sanctuary. It reminds me so much of that scene from the very first movie, when they're flying in at the helicopter scene, as they're coming down onto the waterfall. It reminds me so much of that. And so, as they go through and they meet back up with Malcolm, he is the same Malcolm that either you really, really love or you hate, as from the original two movies and the novel. I just happen to be in that hate camp. I know, I get it. Everybody loves Jeff Goldblum. I'm just not a huge fan. But he plays the character well, and he plays it perfectly just like the novel. So I loved how they already had Malcolm infiltrated into Biosyn's network. That was a very nice touch. It doesn't feel too much like his character, because he would be preaching against that stuff. If anything, I could see him being more from the UN in an antagonizing role towards Biosyn, but I think it works. So I'm going to skip over some parts here and get to one of my next favorite portions, which has got to be the amber mine, that was such an amazing drop. I was warned ahead of time that I chose a really good name, so we're going to stick with it. We've got, prehistoric creatures everywhere. We've got the Quetzalcoatlus, I think that's how you pronounce it, the giant pterosaur that takes down an entire plane. That scene was amazing. Where are people at with the thought that there's no dinosaurs in this? Next up, the Pyroraptor, which was kind of weird because it just felt like a penguin and unneeded, but at least we got another dinosaur in this movie that supposedly had no dinosaurs. And honestly, one of my favorite parts was when the Therizinosaurus just goes and yeets the deer out of the way just because the deer was eating his bushes. So one thing that I thought was interesting, which I was really looking for, and honestly I was kind of saddened that didn't happen, was that deer I was really hoping would be an actual connection back to Nublar, which one of the additions that Chaos Theorem, who actually did the viral marketing campaign, the Dino Tracker website for this movie, as well as the DPG, the Dinosaur Protection Group for Fallen Kingdom, and the Mizrani Global website for Jurassic World. Back then they were known as Timac. They actually added what's called the Nublar tufted deer, which was introduced at some point, which is an Asian species of deer. That would have been an amazing callback to that referencing if that deer had fangs, but unfortunately it didn't, so that just means it's a regular European deer. And by this point it would have been extinct, and so it would have been really cool to see if Biosyn was not only trying to protect just the dinosaurs but also the natural fauna of Isla Nublar. But that would have been a little cherry on top to this amazing movie, and yes, I do mean amazing. So that flows right into the Rex and the Giga introduction. And I'm only going to call it Giga because I know I'm going to hear some interesting comments down below about the pronunciation of the full name, and I'm not ready to face that. So honestly, I really liked how they played it off. It was like an introduction of a new predator into an area, something that actually happens in the wild, which, that is something that I really love about the Jurassic franchise, at least the first two movies. A little bit with Jurassic Park 3, but not nearly as much, is these are not monsters. These are actual animals existing in a real world. To take a portion of what Dr. Grant said in Jurassic Park 3, these are not movie monsters. These are real animals existing in the real world. They are not supposed to be giant kaijus fighting each other to the death just because these are dinosaurs. That's not what Jurassic is about. And unfortunately, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom kind of lost sight of that. This franchise is actually supposed to be about the hubris of man and us, and what that means for those who don't realize. I know I've got people that are younger potentially watching this, is that man sometimes thinks, or humanity thinks that they can control things that are not meant for them to control, like science or Mother Nature for that matter. Mother Nature will always have control, and it is arrogant or much of ourselves to think that we can control this when it's not really our place to. It is to show that nature will have no bounds. It cannot be contained. It will break through violently if need be, or to echo the words from the original Jurassic Park movie. And so seeing these dinosaurs or prehistoric creatures just acting like real animals was very refreshing, because we did not get that, or nearly as much as that it should have been, in Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which unfortunately is part of the reason why I personally bring my rating of those movies down, which I will get into later if you can get those, if you can meet those goals. Next up, we've got the Dimetrodon and that Spino tease that it gives. I know when I saw the movie at premiere dressed up as Hammond, by the way, here's a picture, there were people in the audience that were shrieking, "Oh my god, it's a Spinosaurus!" But it actually was a Dimetrodon, which is a synapsid, which it's not actually a reptile. It's like a reptile trying to be a mammal, so it's both. It's a little weird to describe, and I'm no scientist, so I'm not even prepared to be able to answer that at the moment. However, as it being that it took over the amber mine, which that I thought was amazing to see, an actual amber mine in the franchise and not just in a teaser shot trailer for the original movie. That was amazing. And lastly, we got to go up against my favorite part of the entire movie, which is the glorious return of the Dilophosaurus. My God, was that an amazing scene. If you have read the Claire novel, you would realize that that's not the first time she's seen a Dilophosaurus. She knows what that venom can do and has seen it firsthand. So that fear in her eyes was super real. I don't know if Bryce Dallas Howard actually has read the novels or if someone clued her in on that, but her acting was phenomenal for a character that would have had PTSD from a similar moment back when she was an intern back in Jurassic World era, which was probably, if I remember correctly, it was like 2003, 2004, when Jurassic World would ultimately open in 2005. I believe it was May. I'll have the actual date up here, which I believe we have. But one of my favorite parts about that was not just the return of the Dilophosaurus, but right as those venom sacs were inflating, which, yes, that was actually something from the original animatronic in the first movie, which is a trait of the alpha of the group, by the way. The game actually discusses that. And there's actually some interesting things that this movie takes into account from the game, which makes me think that it's more canon than soft canon, but that's a whole nother discussion. So, right as those venom sacs are starting to inflate, Owen comes in and just grabs it by the neck, holds the skull up, and just yeets it away like some Giga Chad. Like, that is one of my absolute favorite portions, because it shows that Owen was not just a raptor wrangler. He was an animal handler for the Navy. He worked specifically with dolphins. If you know your backstory, thank you to Chaos Theorem's work back with the Mazrani Global website. But that would mean that he knew his homework, that he knew the things about all the carnivores at minimum that were in the park and how to rescue people when they were, and the signs to look for when they were about to attack. This shows a lot of plot development with him as a whole, because most fans actually thought that he was only dealing with the raptors, which that doesn't make any sense. If he was an animal handler and was being brought in and questioned about the Indominus Rex's behavior, it just adds more layers so that even the common fans can understand that there's more to this character, which I thought was amazing. So that's going to flow right into my final thoughts. That was my favorite scene in the entire movie, was that involving the Dilophosaurus. But that was not its only scene in the movie. One of my favorite parts was actually Dodson's death, which, surprisingly, this is the first time I've mentioned Dodson, which, before I go into his death, he kind of felt too much like Steve Jobs or Tim Cook from Apple than he did from the novel. He was the character, but visually he didn't feel right. I am very thankful that they replaced the original actor, because he did some very unmentionable things, and To quote one of my favorite shows, there's a special place in hell for him. But anyway, I might get into that later in October time period, so I'll be looking forward to a video talking about that. But anyway, I really liked aspects of Dodson, but also I didn't like other aspects. I liked that they referenced some novel characteristics, which that leads into, I was really hoping to get his novel scene, death scene, which would have involved actual velociraptors, which there aren't a lot of velociraptors in this movie. I'm not a huge dromaeosaur fan, but at the same time, it's like, it would have been a nice callback. If you're bringing in a novel character, let's bring in his novel death. But anyway, the fact that they did what they did with the dilophosaurus and gave him a death that mirrored or rhymed, to use George Lucas's term, rhymed what Nedry's death was, I thought that was really cool. The fact that they also brought in some references from the game and how their pack hunting worked, that was even cooler, because that's more backstory to the dilophosaurus, which the common fan doesn't typically ever get to see, which was mind-boggling to me that they brought that in. Next up, I absolutely loved the return of Buck and Doe and they're reuniting with Rexy. For those who don't know the timeline, which you will in a few weeks, there were 8 original Rexes developed in the Embryonics Administration Facility. So one of those would eventually become Rexy, and she was selected and transferred over to Isla Nublar in 1989. This is the first time that they've seen each other in 33 years, which I think is amazing. I like the fact that they brought in at least 2 of the lords of Isla Sorna. It would be really cool if we got to see the others, because we get to see all of the Rexes together. That would be amazing. One thing, before I get into the issues that I had with the movie, was that I wish that it would have had time to breathe. You know, that beginning part of the movie felt like it was really rushed, really choppy, which unfortunately was due to the pandemic that was going on, so they had to have really quick shots. So I wish that they could have actually cut the movie at the Malta sequence, so that right at the end, as Owen is getting into the plane, that's when I wish that the movie would have ended, so that they could have had an Avengers Endgame kind of style, where there was a part 1 and a part 2. And that way it would have allowed for more character development, plot development, that we would have actually been able to see more of the dinosaurs in our world, like what some people are complaining about, which it is what it is in my opinion. But it would have felt like it would have given more time to ultimately breathe in this movie. And so my few issues with it, I think, would have been dealt with if that would have been the case. However, there is one issue that I have with this movie that would not have been dealt with. And that is, why did they cause another family to get divorced just for fan service? Ellie and Mark were a happily married family with 2 kids, and it felt a lot like they just threw that away just because fan service. You do realize that Mark was one of the most important characters in that movie. I'm not kidding. Go back and watch. If it wasn't for Mark's contacts at the Pentagon, Ellie would not have been able to rescue Grant and the Kirbys from that whole situation. So, which ultimately is what brought Owen into the franchise. So, if there was no Mark, there would have been no Jurassic World. So why would you remove an important character of the franchise just to appease the fans? I don't like that. I'm sorry to all those that really wanted Ellie and Grant together. There's a whole nother layer to this everybody's forgetting. They've got a 20 to 25 year age gap. Let's look at the novel real quick. So Grant was the college professor of paleontology. She was his intern. he was in his 40s, she was in her 20s. There was some obvious things going on. It was a real-life reference to the actual paleontologist who was the on-set dinosaur expert, who Grant was actually inspired by Jack Horner. There's some interesting stuff with his backstory, which go check that out sometime if you're interested and have time. It's not for everybody. But anyway, I think that's about it for my thoughts. I've got one more person that would like to join in. MRG, take it away.
Hello there. Hey everyone. My name is MRG227 and I'm the one who helps style with a lot of the nitty-gritty behind-the-scenes details with the channel. The other day he approached me about how he wanted to have as many of the team members contribute to our Jurassic World Dominion spoiler review, and I felt like that would be a great idea. I've decided to not go over and cover the whole movie as the others have already done it, and they honestly probably did it way better than I could have, so I'm just going to give my honest opinion. Overall, I thought that Jurassic World Dominion was an amazing movie. After Fallen Kingdom left a sour taste in my mouth, I was definitely concerned with how this new one was going to go, so I admittedly didn't have the highest of expectations going into it. But luckily, I was quickly proven wrong. I enjoyed this movie so much that not only did it easily become my favorite entry in the entire Jurassic franchise, it also joined the ranks of my top favorite movies of all time, up there with the likes of Spider-Man No Way Home and Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Seeing the reunion of all of the old characters, the eventual merging of the old and the new, Maisie's new origin story, and Dr. Wu's redemption were all nice touches that I felt added to the emotional weight of the characters and their stories, but my two favorite scenes would probably be the Theriznosaurus and the T-Rex posing and roaring above the dead Giganotosaurus while lightning cracks and cackles in the background, and the closing sequence showcasing all of the animals living in their new world, with Rexy finally being reunited with her family from Isla Sorna, which I felt was a very heartwarming touch and a nice way to see her go off with a happy ending. Like all things, there were a couple of nitpicks that I had here and there, like how quickly I felt Ellie knew Biosyn was behind the locusts, the Atrociraptors and Pyroraptor being pretty irrelevant to the plot despite all their heavy marketing, and not letting the T-Rex win the final battle by herself, although I know there was an actually valid reason for her to not be able to do so alone, but those didn't really affect my views of the movie all that much. All in all, I would personally give the movie about a 9 out of 10, and I look forward to seeing what the future of this franchise holds. But now that I think about it, the only other thing that movie didn't address that I can't help but to ask is,
where is Bumpy? Is she safe? Is she alright?
It seems in my hatred I ignored her.
No, you shouldn't have. She was the best. Everyone knows it. No!
That was an interesting take, MRG. Now to wrap this up, I'm going to give my personal thoughts and then the Ambermind team's official thought. So personally, I believe that this is a solid 9 out of 10 because of all the intricacies that went into this movie, the Easter eggs, the references, how everything progressed, and the fact that they treated the dinosaurs like animals and they weren't just there for fights. I absolutely adored. I actually consider this the third best movie in the entire Jurassic franchise. As I stated before, it feels a lot more Crichton-esque than all the other sequels. So in my opinion, the Jurassic franchise best goes to Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and then Dominion. And so the official Ambermind thoughts is that it's going to be a 7.5 out of 10. Others felt like certain plot issues were more pressing than others, and if you would like, I will do a follow-up video explaining why there's a big difference between my thought and the official Amber Mine rating. Anyway, I think this would be an interesting way to... Oh wait. We've got one more team member that would like to say something. Benny, take it away.
Tyrannosaur should have been in the movie. 0 out of 10. Okay, goodbye.
Hey Amber Miners, thanks for watching today's video. Be sure to click the subscribe button on your way out and click the bell icon to be notified of our videos when we upload them. Consider leaving a like on this video so we know that you enjoyed it. Leave a comment about content that you would like to see come to this channel, and be sure to check the description for links to our Discord if you would like to talk to the team more directly. Check out our Patreon if you would like to help fund the team and its upcoming projects. Remember, this is a fan group reviewing the depths of our favorite franchise, and that we are in no way affiliated with the groups and companies that own them. Be sure to support Universal Studios and Amblin Entertainment. This has been an Amber Mine production. Thank you for mining with us.